Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Yeager, and I lead the transfer team in undergraduate admission. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the first webinar in our series, Let's Talk Transfer. So today's topic, we're going to focus in on our application process and our credit evaluation process here at Emerson. Today we are going to lead it off with our special guest, Kevin Ziomek from our Registrar's office. Then we're going to talk about what documents you need to submit in order to have a complete transfer application. Then we're going to go over the priority and rolling admission deadlines, as well as deadlines for transfer specific scholarships and financial aid. We will definitely have time at the end of the presentation for your questions. So, try to think about some. So we're here. We're ready to answer them. But before we start, I'd really like to introduce the rest of the transfer team. So we're going to start with you, Nick.
Hello again, everyone. So my name is Nick Washburn. I'm Associate Director of Transfer and Veteran Recruitment at Emerson. I've been at Emerson for over 8 years. I've loved my time being here and love working with transfer students. So we're happy to have you with us today for this session. As Lisa mentioned, it's going to focus a lot on the application and credit evaluation process and overview. So focus your questions and thinking towards those. But I'm very excited actually to introduce you to our transfer outreach ambassadors. So they are transfer students who are now at Emerson and want to share their experiences with you, what it was like going through the transfer process. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to our transfer outreach ambassador supervisor, Rebecca.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca Israel. I am like I said, the transfer and ambassador supervisor. My major is the business of creative enterprise. I'm a senior this time for this semester. I'm also transferred from Miami-Dade College. Super happy to you guys have to be here, and I'm excited to answer any questions you guys have. Passing it over to Corey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Corey Meisner. I'm currently a junior at Emerson. I'm studying sports communications, and I transferred from St. Lawrence University, and I'm really excited to be here and answer any questions you guys have. And I'm going to hand it back to Lisa.
Okay, thanks, Corey. So, one of the many things that our team loves about working with transfer students is collectively, you're a very interesting and really unique group of students to work with. Some of you have gone to a community college, others have been to a four-year private or public university. Some of you have only taken a few college courses after high school, and then others have finished their associate's degree. And then we have another group of students who have taken time off from school, maybe to work for a while, but now have returned to college to maybe complete your bachelor's degree. So no matter what path you've taken, we really want to help you explore all the opportunities for you here at Emerson. So, to start everything off, I'd like to introduce again our guest, Kevin Ziomek. Kevin is a senior associate registrar and the certification officer here at Emerson. And his team performs the official credit evaluations for all admitted transfer students. So, Kevin, take it away.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Great to be here tonight. And I've been in your shoes. I was a transfer student myself many, many, many moons ago. So I totally understand what it is like to be in your situation where you're trying to figure out, how do my credits come in? Couple of things. First thing to really highlight out there is that Emerson is on a 4-credit system. So many of you may go to schools that are on a 3-credit semester system where each course might be 3 credits. You might have a lab or a discussion that adds in an extra credit. But here at Emerson, the majority of our courses are on 4 credits. So what does that mean? Sometimes that means when you transfer, your standing as a freshman, sophomore, junior might look a little bit different. So for us, 0 to 31.99 credits would be a freshman, 32 credits to 63.99 credits would be a sophomore, 64 to 95.99 credits would be a junior. Now, students can transfer into Emerson in a couple of different ways, as Lisa had mentioned. So for our students who are completing an associate's or attending a community college, you can bring in up to 64 credits from a community college. For our students who are attending four-year schools, you can bring up a maximum of 80 credits. Now, there are some additional caveats in that, some of those credits might be from things like AP, Advanced Placement, or International Baccalaureate, and there is a cap on the number of credits that you could bring in from those systems as well. When we do your credit evaluation, we are constantly, looking at your transcripts and determining what the best use of those 64 credits or maybe the 80 credits would be for you in terms of which credits to prioritize and which credits will make the most maximum impact in terms of requirements for you here at Emerson before we start awarding things that are going to be general elective credit on your record. So, how do you know what's going to transfer? Well, for prospective students, you can use a system called Transferology, and that system will allow you to go in and type in all of your courses that you've completed, and you can see how they might match up to Emerson's previously awarded transfer credits. Now, one thing that I will just mention is that if we haven't seen a student from either your particular school or someone who's transferred in that particular course or set of courses from that school, it might not be a match. You might see maybe when those results come back on Transferology. Not to fret, you can submit a request to have us look at those courses and we can evaluate how they might come into Emerson. Now, for students who've already gone through the process and have been admitted, you will have an official transfer credit evaluation in your Slate application portal. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the minimum grade needed for any coursework to transfer into Emerson is going to be a C, not a C minus, but a C or higher. Grades of C minus or below, or courses that were taken on a pass-fail basis, or maybe satisfactory, unsatisfactory, will not transfer into Emerson. Other types of courses that don't transfer into Emerson are going to be things like computer coursework in terms of like using computers or Excel programming, Office suite type computer courses, support courses that might be attached to some of your lectures, orientation type courses where you may have earned a credit for going through a welcoming through like a career development or an advising office, as well as English as a second language courses that were not degree requirements or that were leveling courses to get you ready to take things like English Composition 1 and English Composition 2. Other reasons, the school was not an accredited school, but those are not quite as common reasons why a course might not transfer into Emerson. Now, this is what a sample transfer credit evaluation would look like. You would see the transferred course from your school and the name that it was used at the school that you transferred from on the left-hand side. You would see the number of credits transferred, and you would see the type of credit, what we are awarding for you here at Emerson. I do want to shout out, especially because I know we probably have a lot of visual media arts production students, as well as some BCE students, writing literature publishing, performing arts. Sometimes the course descriptions that the catalog of your school has publicly available to us doesn't give us quite as much information as we need to make a determination as to an equivalency. So for instance, you can see on that right-hand side, I'm just going to throw out that fiction course because if you see on the right-hand side, it says syllabus required for review. In that situation, if you see syllabus required for review on your own transfer credit evaluation, that means we just don't have enough information to make a determination. So we see something like fiction, well, we're Emerson and we have a whole department in writing, literature, and publishing. Was that writing fiction in a creative writing sense? Was that an analysis or a literary fiction course? Or was it a course on publishing fiction? Sometimes we do need more information to make a determination. And a lot of times, some of our courses are just so niche that we just don't have enough in that catalog description. So, what I would recommend now, if you are in something that's very specific, like media arts production, and you're taking filmmaking courses, or you're in creative writing courses, literature courses, business courses, make sure to save your syllabi from this semester. And as well, maybe go back and reach out to your former professors or department associates for those syllabi so you can get them sooner rather than later and have them on hand just in case we need them to make a determination. If you have questions, we're happy to answer questions. You can go ahead and reach out to us at transfercredit@emerson.edu, and we can take a look based on what we have in terms of your transfer credit evaluation, what we're seeing in our databases, and we can give you more information about, credit transfers. Does anybody have any questions for me?
So, Kevin,
Yeah,
I have a couple that I get a
sure.
lot.
Yeah.
If people get a pass,
Uh-huh.
is that going to come in?
So it depends on what kind of course it was. If this was, say, you decided you didn't want, you're not a math person, let's say, and you took, pre-calculus at your previous school, and your school allowed you to do it on a pass-fail basis rather than earn a letter grade. If on the back of the transcript, the college or university specifically gives a numerical or grade score for what a pass was under their system, we can review that. However, if they equate a pass to a D or a C minus or something like that, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to accept it.
Another question we get a lot is students have major related courses and they would like to know how that comes in.
Sure. So depending upon the major, some are very, marketing has, intro marketing is intro marketing at a lot of schools, right? However, things that are very specialized, like our media arts production program, sometimes we have very specific requirements within each course. And we need to see what you studied, what were the deliverables, what kind of equipment you might have been using. For example, I'll throw one out there that's, a very popular course here at Emerson for our filmmaking students, and that's Intro to Analog Film, right? A lot of students take courses on filmmaking, but our Intro to Analog Film is very specific. It requires the use of very specific equipment. It requires the use of 16 millimeter film. It requires you to be able to develop that 16 millimeter film in a dark room and to have all of those skills in order to pass the course. So when we're looking at syllabi, I would be looking in order to make a match to something like that to see that you have all of those pieces. If not, it might not be a match, but it could come in as an elective to support you along your way. Usually what we do is if we can't make the determination in our office, we have a whole cadre of faculty experts in every department that we reach out to with those syllabi to have them, in their expert opinion, weigh in and where to place those credits within your major.
Thanks, Kevin.
No
Anything
problem.
else?
I see one in the Q&A. You've taken some classes over Zoom. Yeah, unless the transcript makes some type of notation that the course was not for credit or some other reason why that couldn't be transferred, whether you took it online or physically in person with your faculty member, that's not a consideration that we would take. So many schools have online options, especially even here at Emerson. The majority of our summer coursework is actually done over is an online program. So modality of where you studied is less important than what the curriculum was for that course.
Anything else?
Evan, I actually have a pre-submitted question that we've talked, I think, through the kind of lens of credit evaluations more from a maybe domestic standpoint, but can you
Mhm.
speak to the differences for international transfer students?
Yeah, so for international students, we're going to need a credit evaluation by a third-party evaluator. So someone who belongs to the NACES evaluator credentialing. So for instance, that's like World Evaluation System West or CED here in the Boston area. they need to do a course by course analysis of your transcript because not every country is on the US credit system. So we need to not only know how the grades match up to the US system, but also how the credits match up to university system here in the United States. And in order to do the credit evaluation, we do need to have that because otherwise, we don't have much information to go on to give you an accurate leveling in terms of where you might come in totals of transfer credits. And this also goes without saying, if the transcript is not issued in English, you would also need to have the transcript translated before you send it off to some of these companies. And I see a good one in here from the California Community College System. Love the California Community College System because they really know how to articulate things across every community college in California. So what I will say is that a lot of the community college systems, they have multiple campuses. Usually those transcripts have all of the campuses listed on the transcript and will notate what sister school you may have taken a course at. Sometimes you might have to request multiple transcripts from each of them, but usually some of them are listed as, okay, you took this at Irvine Valley, or you took this here, or you took this there, and it's all on one transcript. And in terms of CLEP credits, yes, we do accept CLEP tests. We don't accept all of them, but we do accept CLEP test credits. But those would fall into when I mentioned earlier that there is a cap on the number of AP, IB. CLEP falls into test credits. So there is a cap on the number of CLEP credits that you could bring in.
Anything else? Well, thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate it. And students, they are a great team. Kevin, as he said, was a transfer student, so he really understands how important credits are to transfers. So don't forget the transfer credit at emerson.edu, and they're more than happy to help you. So thank you for
Absolutely.
coming, Kevin. We really appreciate your time tonight.
No problem. Have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing some of your applications come through in your transcripts.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, transfer applications. Okay, so I think it's first important to let you all know how we define transfer students because this can vary from school to school. So at Emerson, a transfer is anyone who has earned a high school diploma or GED and has enrolled full-time at another college or university, or in another case, if you've graduated from high school and you attended college part-time and you've earned 9 or more credits, then you would again apply as a transfer student. However, there's a lot of students these days who are in high school and they're taking college courses as a dual enrolled student. So in that case, you would apply as a new first-time student. Another thing I wanted to mention is that for the fall 2026 admission cycle, we will accept transfer applications for most of our academic majors. There's a few caveats. Our global BA and BFA programs are only open for our freshman applicants. We also have a couple majors that have credit limits for transfer applicants, and that's because of the way those majors are structured. So those two departments, comedic arts, the credit limit is 32, and for interdisciplinary studies major, it's 48. So if you have any interest in any of those majors, please just reach out to Nick or myself, and we could answer any of your follow-up questions about those two. Okay, so we're going to get to the 3 ways that you can apply. So you can apply with the Transfer Common app, the Emerson app, or a reactivation form. So every year we get a few transfer students who use the new first time Common app. So just make sure that you pick the Transfer Common App because it is different. It asks different questions. So the benefit of the Common App is that if you're applying to multiple schools, once you complete the essays and the short answers, it's a longer app. But once you submit the application, it will go out to all of your schools. So some people think that's very efficient for that. We also have the option of the Emerson app. So if you know Emerson is your top school or you're only applying to Emerson, it's a shorter app. It goes right to us. So sometimes that's a benefit to our students. And then if you've completed a transfer application within the last academic year, you could go to our transfer page on the website, scroll all the way down, and there's a reactivation form. It's a short form. Complete it. We need your updated transcript, and then we can use that when we evaluate your application. So very simple. But those are the three applications that you can use. So I'm going to ask Rebecca. Rebecca, which application did you use and why did you pick that one?
Yes, so I used the Common App application. It was easier for me, like you mentioned, to apply to multiple different colleges. So I always needed to put in the recommendation and then send it over to wherever universities of your choice. That's the reason why I used the Common App.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so required admission documents. So we talked about the application. Um, all of our applications require the writing supplement. Then we also need the final official transcript from your high school or an official GED score. So this is really important because we cannot take an official transcript from a student. So you'll have to go to your high school and request, the transcript to be sent to um, us. Now, there's a couple ways that you can send the high school transcript or the college transcript. If your school uses a third party like Parchment or eScripts, they can send it to admission@emerson.edu, and we will consider that as official. Or if the school or organization, like GED organization, if they have to send it by mail, then you would use our typical mailing address for that. Your college or university transcripts. So again, we need an official transcript from each of the colleges that you've been, if you've attended multiple, we would need all the transcripts from those schools. Again, you can send it to admission@emerson.edu or the mailing address. If you are from out of the country, like Kevin said, you would have to submit a course by course evaluation from one of those credentialing agencies. Your activity sheet or resume. So when we're evaluating students, we're looking for a strong academic fit, but we're also looking for a good personal fit as well. So what you would do here is think about all the organizations that you were part of in either high school or college. For example, any kind of clubs you were part of, athletic teams, community service, things like that. We also encourage you, if you have a job or if you have family responsibilities, those are important to list as well on your resume or activity sheet. Your academic evaluation. Sometimes this throws people off. So basically, it's a letter of recommendation. We only need one to complete your file, but we will take it from um, a college professor. We will take it from an academic advisor at your college, a current employer, or a professional that you've worked closely with. For example, maybe you've worked closely with a theater director or maybe an internship director. So those would be the ones that would complete the academic evaluation on your application checklist. If you have other kinds of recommendations, you can certainly send them in, but they would not complete that academic evaluation. Your educational gap explanations. So let's say you have a couple of gaps, maybe after high school you worked or between colleges. You do have to give us a brief explanation of what you were doing during that time. So some examples of that would be traveling, or you were working, or you were interning, things like that. And it doesn't have to be a long, involved explanation, just something brief so that we know what you were doing. Creative sample or artistic review. So some of our majors require a creative submission, and Nick's going to talk about that in a moment. Your English proficiency requirement. So this is for international students. So students will need to submit an English proficiency test if you haven't completed at least 3 years of consecutive study at a high school or college that uses English as its primary language of instruction. Okay. If you are from a country or a school that teaches in English, then you can complete our waiver for English proficiency. And that will appear in your checklist once you submit your application. Midterm grade report. Sometimes after an initial admission committee review, they might request a midterm grade report. And so that what this does is it basically lets us know how you're doing in your classes this term, so the current term. So the process is you take the form, you complete it yourself, and try to estimate the best of your ability of what you would be getting, at the moment. And then you send it to our office, and then once we receive it, we'll continue with our review. And then one other question that we get a lot is, do we require a college officials report? And we don't, so you don't have to worry about that one. Okay, Corey, I have a question for you. So, do you have any tips? You were going through this process a short time ago. Do you have any tips for students as they start, doing their applications, getting their documents together? I think, they might like to hear a tip from you.
Yeah, of course. Two things actually, I would say is the first one is just to give yourself time. Because when I remember going through my experience, like I wasn't giving myself enough time to like realize that I needed to like email my high school and possibly get my transcript from there. So I really like writing it out and giving yourself time really helps you just so that you kind of have a game plan that you're looking at and like how you're going to go from there. And then my second piece of advice is ask questions or ask for help. The entire process was always emailing the admissions team. I was asking my college, I was asking Emerson, and asking those questions really helped me get through the process. So always ask questions.
Okay, the artistic reviews and creative samples.
All right. Hello again, everyone. It's good to be back. That was some great pieces of advice. Thank you, Corey. The other thing that I will note just quickly when it comes to those midterm grade reports, if you do have those grades hosted on a online portal like Canvas or Blackboard or something like that, you can always send us screenshots of that as well as for the midterm grade report. So that's another option if you have those accessible to you. So as Lisa mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about artistic reviews and creative samples now. So at Emerson, while you have one portion of the process focused towards more kind of the admission application process, we do have some majors that actually have artistic or creative sample reviews that are required as part of the application process. So we want to walk you through that a little bit. So first, we're going to start out with our comedic arts program, which, if you didn't know, is the first BFA of comedy in the country. This is one of my new favorite programs, and part of it is to do actually with the creative sample. So students applying to comedic arts are required to submit one creative sample. Now, this can range from a performance production sample that you created that could be 3 to 5 minutes in length. It could be a writing sample that's 5 to 10 pages. It could even be a video of you doing stand-up comedy. That's my new favorite one. You spent a long day reading a bunch of recommendations and essays. It's nice to get a little stand-up special that you're not expecting. So that's something you could submit. You could also submit a short film or a web episode. So there's a lot of different options that you can kind of get involved with when it comes to comedic arts. I think one of the things that you're going to find this along with media arts production is our faculty want to know who you are as a storyteller. They want to hear your voice. So don't worry so much about kind of production costs or anything like that. We really want to see who you are as an artist, as a storyteller, as a comedian. Now, within our performing arts major, we have onstage, offstage, and backstage programs, each having a little bit of a different sort of requirement when it comes to their artistic reviews. So first and foremost, every student applying to performing arts is required to submit an artistic application through Accepted. That is due on March 31st. Also, students are required to submit a resume and headshot. Now, for students who are going into musical theater, you'll submit a pre-screen. If you make it through that pre-screen, you'll then have an opportunity to register for an audition. You can do this right through Accepted. There's in-person and virtual auditions that are open. If you are applying to our theater and performance or theater education and performance major, you're going to, in addition to the artistic application, resume and headshot, you're going to submit a portfolio, as well as go through an interview. Again, can be submitted right through Accepted. And then those students who are in stage and production management or theater design and production, you would be submitting a statement of intent, kind of your interest in the program and how it's going to carry you on in your career after you graduate, as well as an interview. And then lastly, for our theater as well as theater education program, students will submit that statement of intent as well as an interview. I know that's a lot of information. This is outlined on our website as well, so we do encourage you to take a look at that. It breaks down all of the deadlines as far as your auditions, interview schedules, whether they're online or in person as well. So it's a really great resource to look at. And then to note, with our media arts production major, it's not required, but students are encouraged to submit a creative sample. What I always encourage students to do is to create a sample that's going to align with your particular area of interest. So one that I always like to use as an example is if you're interested in media arts production, but with a focus on writing for film and television, then submitting a 5 to 10 page script or screenplay is really going to be beneficial to kind of align with your particular area of interest. The other thing to note with the media arts production or comedic arts samples, if you work on these in projects, they've been very collaborative. You do want to make sure that you're identifying your role within that artistic review and creative samples so that faculty can know where to focus kind of their eyes as they're looking through it. The other thing that I'll note as well, while not required, if you have interest in submitting or sharing an artistic sample, work that you've done, writings, maybe you've been in the newspaper, you can feel free to reach out to myself or Lisa, and we're happy to also include that information and add it to your application as well. So always a great opportunity for you to kind of show off some of your work that you've created. And then for the next, we're going to take a look at our admission deadlines. So one of the real things to kind of look at here is our breakdown for our priority as well as our rolling admission deadlines. Our priority transfer deadline is really for our performing arts majors and comedic arts. because they require that additional component, that artistic application review, admissions will do their own review, and then the department does their review, and then we come together. So because of that, if you're applying to performing arts or comedic arts majors, you do need to meet our priority application deadline of March 2nd for transfer students. This is also our priority transfer scholarship deadline as well. So we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but we have some scholarships that while you don't need to submit additional materials, you do need to apply by March 2nd, as they are very competitive and limited capacity scholarships. So that's another reason that you'd want to pay attention to that March 2nd priority deadline. Just going to allow you to be considered for the largest pool of scholarships. And then after that date, we actually work on a rolling admission basis when it comes to transfer. So as applications complete, we'll review them, and then we'll get their decisions out. We've actually already started releasing decisions for fall 2026. We typically release them on Fridays. We'll review them as they come in, and we're releasing them weekly. So also, the earlier you get your application in, the earlier you're going to get your decision, the earlier you'll get your credit evaluation, the earlier you'll get a lot of different information about Emerson and your future. So rolling deadline, July 17th, non-performing arts, comedic arts programs. I do want to just highlight for those students who are, apply and are admitted kind of earlier in the process, June 1st is our transfer deposit deadline. Now, we practice rolling admissions, as I just said. So if you apply after June 1st or within 2 weeks of June 1st, you will get your own individualized deposit deadline of 2 weeks. And so that will be for you specifically, but the main deposit deadline for transfers, if you will, is June 1st. So something just to keep in mind. But we do want to make sure that you have all the necessary information. So if you're coming up to your deadline and you're missing any information regarding your credit evaluation, financial aid, scholarships, anything like that, we're always here for you to reach out to us.
Okay, so what do we look for when we're evaluating transfer applications? So Nick and I get this question a lot when we do one-on-one meetings with students. And I think the first thing we want you all to know is we really do take a holistic approach in our evaluation process. We look at everything that you submit. We appreciate the time that you put into your application, so we're going to give it the utmost review. We obviously look at your previous college academic performance. Just so you know, we look at your most recent work. We'll spend most of our time on your most recent work. Because we're a college that embraces the idea of effective communication, we always encourage you to take care when you're doing your writing. So those essays, the short answers, because they will play a role in our evaluation process. As I mentioned before, we are looking for the whole person. So not just academic, we're looking for that personal fit. So again, what you've done outside the classroom. So just remember, we're looking for anything that you've done in high school and college, especially if they show deep involvement in some organization, or if you've had leadership, or if it's something major related. Put all those things down on your activities or resume sheets. And then finally, the evaluation. So we really look to understand what your letter of recommendation says. We recommend that you give your evaluator a resume. So they might know your performance and how you are in a classroom, but they might not know all the different things that you do outside the classroom. So just make sure that your evaluator knows you, the whole person, because that's really important.
All right. So I do want to take a moment to talk about financial aid and scholarships. I do want to, though, actually pull Rebecca in because I wanted to ask this on one of the previous slides, but it aligns actually pretty well here. Rebecca, do you want to let us know what application deadline you chose and why?
Yeah, so I actually chose the priority deadline. Um, Coming from a Miami-Dade college student, if you're applying for the Miami-Dade College Scholarship, it's very highly recommended of applying for the priority, which is what I did to be selected for that particular scholarship or any of the scholarships of your choice that you want to apply to. Another reason also, if this Emerson is your top choice of a school, it's also highly recommended to also apply priority, which is why I applied to that particular section.
Thanks, Rebecca. So one of the cool things that we really tried to do is that when you're applying to Emerson, we don't want this extra lift of you needing to submit additional scholarship materials, essays, applications, things like that. So when you complete your application, you're going to automatically be considered for any scholarships that you're eligible for. The one kind of caveat to this is the note of that March second priority scholarship deadline. So for those scholarships that are limited, like the Phi Theta Kappa Achievement Scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship, or the Miami-Dade College Scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship, those are very competitive and limited capacity scholarships, or limited capacity number of those scholarships. So if you want to be considered for those scholarships, you just want to make sure to complete your application by March 2nd's priority deadline. Now, we have other scholarships outside of those, some guaranteed scholarships actually for students that are coming from outside of Massachusetts or inside of Massachusetts with at least a 3.0 GPA and an associate's degree. Prior to matriculating at Emerson, that we're really excited about the Commonwealth Transfer Scholarship for those of you from Massachusetts, and the Next Chapter Scholarship for those of you coming from community colleges outside of Massachusetts. If you're coming from a four-year institution, we also have transfer scholarships that you're automatically going to be considered for as well. So you don't have to worry about submitting those additional materials. Now, if you are going to be applying for need-based financial aid, you will need to submit the FAFSA to be considered for that. We no longer require the CSS profile, so it is just the FAFSA that you're going to submit. Sometimes our financial aid office does request additional materials. If they do that, it will be added to your financial aid checklist. So as of right now, it's just the FAFSA that you need to submit unless our financial aid office requests anything in addition. Do you want to note, if you are applying by that fall priority deadline, we want you to have your FAFSA submitted by March 6th. And if you're applying by the rolling deadline, we want you to have that submitted by April 6th. Again, we want to be able to make sure to try to get you your financial aid package, get you information about your cost of attendance as soon as we can. And just a note as well, when you're looking at your financial aid package, once you get that, that's going to include information on it that is both um, grants, scholarships, loans. So it's going to be not only merit awards, but it will also be kind of need-based financial aid included in there, as well as an estimated breakdown of direct and indirect costs as well. If you're someone that is awarded federal work study, this is where you'd also see it in that financial aid package. And the other thing I do want to note as well is we do have the opportunity for students to submit a student aid appeal. So as you're going through the process, if you do decide that you want to be considered for some additional funding, if you've gotten new test scores, new grades, new honors or awards, we do have the opportunity for you to go ahead and submit that aid appeal. If you are a student that's going to be applying for need-based financial aid, we recommend waiting until you get your financial aid package before submitting that aid appeal. If you are an international transfer student or someone that won't be applying for need-based financial aid, then we can have you reach out directly to Lisa or I with your specific questions around that you do have. All right, we can go on to the next slide. Great, and this is our fantastic transfer team. We just really kind of want you to take a look at this, take a screenshot if you need to. It's really a great opportunity just to have our contact information, how to reach out to us if you want to follow up with any questions, you want to hear more from Rebecca or Corey about their experiences. It's a great way to connect. And I do want to give a special shout out to our newest Transfer Outreach Ambassador, Kendall, who just joined us starting today. Kendall is a theater and performance student, and so we're very excited to also have Kendall joining the team to work with you as well. So with that, I think we'll turn it over to any questions that you have. I do want to remind you, if you do have questions, please submit them in the Q&A function, as we're not able to keep up with the chat function. So let's start out. The first question I have is, I'm currently a full-time student at Miami-Dade College, but during high school, I took dual enrollment classes at both MDC and Barry University. Do I have to request my transcript from Barry? The classes that I took are mentioned in my MDC transcript. This is a great question and one that we get often. So we actually require that students are submitting official transcripts from all institutions that they've attended, because what one school might accept for credits could be different that we're going to accept. Maybe they accept credits that are a C minus, or maybe it's a course that they don't accept, but we would accept. So you do want to have official transcripts from all your institutions submitted to us for review as part of the application process.
And you also need to mention that you attended Barry on your application. So yeah, so we'll know if you forget to submit the Barry transcript, we'll remind you.
Lisa, this one is kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but I think is maybe a good one for you to follow up on. Is question is, I applied to Emerson last year as a first-year student, but this year I'm applying as a transfer. Do I still need to answer the supplemental questions narrative statement in the Common App?
So, yes, you do, because the new first time application and the transfer application is totally different. So, you will be asked different questions. Some of it is college related. So, yes, I'm sorry you'll have to do it again. But we hope you do.
Now, I will say if you decided to use the reactivation form, then we would be using that information from your prior application. With that said, we do encourage you, since you're applying as a transfer student, to update some of the materials to make sure we have updated activities, resumes. We would encourage, honestly, an updated letter of recommendation, preferably from a professor. So there's some things that we would maybe ask for that's updated, but if you do the reactivation, there is an opportunity to reuse some of those materials. But if you are applying with the Common App, yes, you'll rewrite those. All right. And Lisa, another one that I'm going to send at you. How recent are the prioritizing in recent grades? So when we're looking at the students that kind of that fit with us, and we're talking about prioritizing maybe the more recent work, kind of what does that time frame look like?
Yeah, so, you know, we look at trends. So we'll take the transcripts from all of your schools and sometimes people's, it's a hard transition from high school to college. So the grades in the first semester might be lower, but then we'll see the trends where your grades are getting higher and higher. Sometimes it's the opposite, where you might have started out strong and then all of a sudden your grades are trending lower. We might reach out to you and ask for maybe a meeting or just trying to understand why that's happened. People, life happens and things, you might have an illness, you might have a family situation that affects your schoolwork. So, we will reach out if we see something like that. So I think overall we look at the trends, but hopefully the last couple of semesters are strong. But we will look at the overall GPA.
Thank you, Lisa. So the next question that I have is actually regarding one of the scholarships that I just mentioned. So the next chapter scholarship, and we'll have this put in the chat, a link to our scholarship page. But the next chapter scholarship is designated for students from outside of Massachusetts who are graduating from a community college with a minimum 3.0 GPA and will have their associates prior to matriculating at Emerson. It's a guaranteed $30,000 scholarship that's renewable each year as long as you maintain a 3.0 GPA. So we do verify that you'll have your associates and that you have that 3.0 GPA, but that is a guaranteed scholarship for students who do meet that criteria. It's one that we're really excited about. And that Commonwealth Transfer Scholarship is that same sort of 3.0 with an associate's, and it's $40,000 for our Massachusetts community college students for that scholarship. So we're very excited about those. We encourage you to reach out with any questions that you do have to Lisa and I, and we're happy to talk with you about those or any of the other scholarships that we have.
So the link, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think Adriana put a link to the scholarship page. If, for people that are coming from a four-year institution, um, don't fret. We do have scholarships at the top of that page. You'll see a number of scholarships that are earmarked for not only new first-time students, but for transfer students as well. So just wanted to mention that.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. And then one quick question. If a student's accepted, how soon will they receive their financial aid package if we have a general timeline for them?
Well, we are just now building financial aid packages for the admitted transfer students. We have been told that within 2 weeks of admission, that's when you hopefully will get it. If you haven't gotten it in that time frame, then you should reach out to either Nick or myself. Just so you know, in the portal, there's a picture of one of us in the portal, and that is your, admission counselor that you can work with. Of course, you can work with anybody, but we like to get to know the people from the schools that we work with. Nick works with students from schools west of the Mississippi, and I work, what?
Flip that,
I mean,
east of the
sorry,
Mississippi.
east of the Mississippi. I'm used to my own. East of the Mississippi, and I work with schools and students west of the Mississippi. So that's how it's aligned in the portal. But again, we're a small team. We help each other and each other's students.
So a couple of other questions, and I just keeping an eye on the time, want to be cognizant of that. So one of the questions is really asking for a little bit more kind of elaboration on the gap explanation. So really with the gap explanation, what we're looking for is information just to fill in the blanks for us so we have an idea of kind of what your activities were during that time frame. So one of the big things is really just making sure we're not missing academic information, right? If we need a transcript from someplace. The other thing is we want to make sure you're getting credit for your activities and your involvement. So were you working? Did you have family responsibilities? Were you traveling? Kind of what was going on that we can also then kind of understand about you and your process that you went through. So that's really kind of the two pieces that we're mainly looking for, is to make sure we're not missing any academic information and make sure we kind of have an understanding of your involvement during that time frame. So hopefully
I
that
also,
helps.
oh, I also want to mention that sometimes people have, personal challenges that they're going through. We don't want, a big, long explanation of that, but, you could just say that you were experiencing an illness or, and that you were trying to get better. So just basic information. You don't have to go into a long story.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. We're definitely
Uh-huh.
not expecting to, get a full rundown of your medical history or anything like that, by any means. Um, all right. So the next question that we have, and I think Lisa, maybe this is one we both can kind of answer, is how many credits are usually transferred from a community college associate's degree? Now, this is a little bit of a tricky question because it depends on kind of the context around the situation. So if it's a student coming from a school where we have an articulation agreement, then they're going to be getting all of those credits coming in. Now, depending on the type of associate's degree that you're in, if you are, say, in one that's towards biology, right? Or the sciences, and then you're looking to transfer here, the number of those credits potentially coming in that aren't, say, liberal arts or general elective courses might be smaller because they're not going to align with our curriculum. Now, if you're in like a liberal arts for transfer option, we're pretty friendly when it comes to transfer credits that way. But there can be a little bit of a loss. It's really hard to say without having that actual credit evaluation take place, which is one of the things we encourage with transferology. So we're happy to kind of walk through that process with you as well. So not only can you see what courses you've taken, how they're going to transfer in, but if those haven't been evaluated yet, we can have the registrar's office take a look at those to determine those. But typically, once you receive your decision, it's usually within 7 to 10 days that you'll get your credit evaluation. Just a reminder that that doesn't include any courses that are in progress, but you do fairly quickly get an idea of kind of what your incoming credits are going to look like. I don't know, Lisa, if you want to add to that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, so I would say just don't forget if you took college classes and not dual enrolled all the times, but if you just had maybe took a couple college classes in the summer during high school, you would want to get those college transcripts because those are additional credits. Or if you've taken AP classes, if you've gotten a 4 or 5, you'll want to have the College Board send that record. So there might be credits that you're kind of forgetting about. So, just think, okay, what could I use and submit that might help with my credits? And again, though, from a community college, it's 64. If you're coming from a 4-year school, it would be 80. So I think we
Awesome.
have time maybe for one more, if
Yeah,
there's any.
absolutely.
Should we talk about housing?
Why don't we do that? I'm gonna you.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about housing, and I'm gonna look for
Okay,
another
because this
specific.
is
Yeah, yeah.
really great news. We heard last week that transfer students starting in fall 26 will be guaranteed 2 years of housing on campus if they would like it. It is not requirement. We don't have a housing requirement for transfer students, but if you are interested, you would have to pay your deposit first. Well, first you'd have to get admitted, then pay your deposit, and then you have access to the non-guaranteed housing form. So you would want to submit that, and then we do have that guarantee of 2 years. For those students who want to explore another option, we have an off-campus student services office that helps find transfers roommates, safe, affordable areas in Boston. So that's another option for students. But we're very excited. We have not had a guarantee for housing for transfers, and I've been here for 20 years, never had it. So you guys are really lucky. So.
Awesome, great. And I know that brings us to the time. So what I kind of wanted just to do really quickly, if we could, is, and I'll start with you, Lisa, and I'm going to give Corey and Rebecca a little bit of time to think about this. But any final pieces of advice that you would recommend for students that are currently in the transfer application process?
Absolutely. I guess, our team really wants to get to know you. So we have about 850 applications, but we try to make the process really personal for you and really try to help everyone. We have one-on-ones that you could schedule with the counselors. Then our students, because I think it's always nice. Nick and I can go over things like the application process and scholarships and financial aid and all those kind of things. But we think it's really important for you to connect with our students. They're amazing. And, just asking them questions like, how did you transition? How did you make friends? Do you like your professors there? What is the curriculum? What did you get involved with? Those kinds of conversations are really important to get to know us. And so I think if you can keep engaged with us, we have a few more webinars and different activities. We have in-person information sessions now that people can come to at night. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get to know us. So I would recommend that.
Rebecca?
One thing that I definitely would say is this is your time to showcase more about yourself overall. So yes, brag about yourself. This is your time to showcase anything that you have done, resume wise, your coursework, any extra activities, leadership skills. This is your time to showcase it within your application. And another thing too, please, you can always contact us at the transfer intern at Emerson EDU email. You could also schedule one-on-one with us. I'm so happy to have conversation with students, especially I'm a transfer myself, so I know the whole process, how it comes from coming into Emerson and now seeing the behind the scenes of the application process. So I'm very happy to help answer any of those questions.
And Corey.
Yeah, going off what Rebecca said, I also went through the transfer process. So really like kind of just absorbing everything there is to absorb and just kind of like talking with a one-on-one or asking Nick and Lisa, just really any question. Like there's no bad question in the transfer process when you're going to find your new home or your new community. So I think that's just a really important piece that I would put out there is just absorb what you can and just ask any question because no question is a bad question.
All those were fantastic answers. I don't even feel like I need to give my own response. So what I'm gonna actually do is say, don't hesitate at any point. I'm just gonna reiterate what everyone said. Is this is how you can connect with us? I know a couple of people were asking how to connect with us either for one-on-ones or send us emails. So this is the way to reach out to us. You can email myself, Lisa, Rebecca, Corey to schedule a one-on-one. Happy to do that. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is that we're here to help you through the process. I myself was a transfer student way back in the day. I know what that was like, and we want to make sure the process is as smooth for you, as transparent, and as easy as possible because we know it can be stressful, and so we want to make that a little bit easier for you. So I just want to thank you all for joining us for our Let's Talk Transfer application and credit evaluation overview. Keep an eye out for future webinars and events coming down the pipe, and we're excited to see you there. So thank you so much for spending time with us, and have a great rest of your day.